Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are back here on Mount Schmoedown for part 2 of our Professor Delinquent Harris here. It's going to be an extremely fun episode here as we, in my opinion, talk about the more exciting character that Lon Harris has done in the Delinquent. What are y'all's thoughts on who's better, the Professor or the Delinquent?
Oh, for me, hands down, is the delinquent. I mean, I like the professor, but the delinquent brings a whole different, I don't want to say energy, but a different vibe that makes it entertaining to watch. Like, you never know what you're going to get with this character.
I mean, it's delinquent, professor. I mean, it's whatever, I mean, who cares at this point? I mean, Lon pretty much just showed us that as long as you don't try and, you just don't care going in, you're able to still, capture people's showdowns. I mean, look at him coming in. He tries to be this smart, know-it-all professor, and then he just did the smart thing, which he just gave up. And look what he did this season. I mean, he showed that when you truly give up, you still win. And if no one's even telling him right now, I'm trying to do my best Lon impersonation of him being delinquent. If you can't tell, even though it's like, whatever, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter.
It just doesn't matter. Yeah. Just the way that they set this whole thing up with him, with that early cutscene with him and Winston, I thought was absolutely amazing. Some of the best character work and scenes that we've seen here in the last few seasons.
Yeah.
So
Winston and Lon had great chemistry going off of each other. So sorry.
Ben.
I mean, I'm going to say, I also like, I know we had to do the digital format this season for a reason, but I feel like the delinquent, I think that actually worked well with the delinquent because they can play around with his character, him showing up in different places like they were doing.
Yeah.
Lon did show that with the digital format, he's able to. It worked very well with this character of the delinquent. I mean, even then, like what Brandon was saying with the cutscenes, Winston looking for Lon, finds him hanging out in a dumpster alley, trying to be turned like into this hobo character, and the commitment Lon shows throughout the cutscene and throughout this entire season of him just like everything just doesn't matter. Like he tried his run as a intellectual, like he tried to be the enlightener. But then, he decided to change it up. He changed it up, and it did so much. Like, the only one studio match we had with the Delinquent, which was Final Exam versus the Experiment, you can tell his character was going over like crazy. Everybody just could not stop laughing because not just because of Lon's performance, but also Mark Ellis. Every time he kept, he was pretty much treating Lon Harris as if he was his son. Every sharp wit that was going off, it was like, "Young man, please take those headphones off." Like, what? Is anything happening right now?
Yeah, it was pretty great. I can't wait until we can get back in studio because, again, these online matches, they're great and all. We're still getting the matches, but I just prefer studio matches and actual live events, not these online live pay-per-views.
The live aspect, yeah, the audience aspect that we get, yeah.
So I think I'm delayed a little bit, so I'm going to jump out and jump right back in, you guys.
Maybe it's me. Maybe it's me, though. Oh. I was thinking maybe it was me because my audio just keeps going back and forth. Or it's just my internet. Like, it keeps trying to go on and off. Like, I thought it's just me. If that was the thing, I would have easily taken myself off. But since Brandon's going to do that, it's fine. But even then, to carry on what Brandon was saying, the audiences that we get from the studio shows, like when they're in the studio, it's great. It's why the Delinquent was such a great character off of that first match. Because even then, it was like it was a collection of characters with Final Exam and the Experiment. All right.
Yeah. Is that the one with Dewberry? That's Dewberry and Edward Hoyk, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so
Correct. Yeah.
yeah, this was Lon
I
went
mean, it
perfect
was just like
in the first round in this match.
yeah, him, Hoik, and Oyama went perfect in that round.
There was a moment in this match that made me laugh. It was at the end of the match, and Shannon and Winston were at the table. And you could hear Shannon. I don't know if this was in character or if this was legit, but you could hear Shannon introduce herself to Lon. And I just found that funny.
I mean, I'm going to
Yeah, it
assume
was at
it's
the
in
end of the match
character.
because it was. Because if you remember that match, Lon, he was playing off as if he has no idea who Shannon is. Because it was just like, who is she? Because in the second round when they were spinning the wheel, which one thing about this match, both teams got opponent's choice. And so when Shannon was going to discuss it with Elliot and Hoik, my favorite remark from Lon was like, who is she? Does she work here? Because that got one of the biggest that got the biggest pop from the audience. The fact that Lon no sells anything Shannon does throughout the entire match was just hilarious.
Yeah, it was definitely pretty great there. But no, Lon goes. I mean, both Lon and Paul go perfect in that match. In that first round. They technically only missed one question the entire match. They got 90s. They got the dreaded opponent's choice, and they're given 90s. They go 5 of 6. They check down twice, but they only get one of them. So, which was the only question they missed in the entire match. They got a TKO actually out of that. One of my favorite quotes from this match is Lon goes, "Effort sounds lame." I thought that was pretty clever.
It was awesome. Like he got so many people to crack up. Like he got so many good performances out of Ellis. He got some great reactions from Shannon, and yeah, Winston just like he's not even trying to stop it. He's just like building off of it even more. Like I loved at the end of the match, like entrance and in the ending, he's literally dragging Lon in just to play, and I loved how it just built their dynamic throughout the rest of the season, and. Yeah. Oh my God. There's so much great character moments out of Lon. Him with the earbuds. Go ahead.
So one thing that is very interesting is Lon in season 7 had 9 matches. He went perfect 3 times.
Yeah.
And he went near perfect 5. He got 7 points 5 times. So you take that. Perfect 3 times, almost perfect 5 times. That's 8. There was one other match where I think he missed like 2 or 3 in round 1. So he would.
Sorry.
Collins, he missed 1. He missed.
Oh no, I think it was against the Pride. Yeah, it was against the Pride. He missed twice.
Yeah, no, 3 times. He missed movie release dates, horror thriller, and animated. But they were only down by 1. That's how good Paul is. That's how good Oyama really is.
God. Yeah, Winston really was smart putting these two together. He really had a great plan. And I love the fact that they're going to still remain together in season 8.
I mean, I don't think Christian's confirmed it yet, but I believe they'll be at a number 1 contenders match against Shazam. And then that winner will play the Odd Couple, I believe, like the first pay-per-view in April. I think Christian said it on a stereo, so I can't go back and pull up a tweet, but I think that's what I heard.
Yeah, if it was the stereo with the JCast network, then I think I was listening to the same one. Either way, Paul, Lon, they they were really able to really cover each other's bases. Like if there was ever anything, because I rewatched their match against the Pride, they really were having to, even though they had the knowledge, they were always checking with each other, especially in round 2 when they had spun. John Carpenter movies. Even though they immediately knew the answer, they always kept checking in with each other just to make sure.
Yeah. And they went perfect in that round. They went 6 for 6, so they got all possible points in that round. They got all 12. So, and they got 1 point in steals, which was huge. So they were up pretty big after round 2, and they end up winning by
Yes.
TKO, not having to answer a round 3 question.
No, that was they final exam. They played 3 matches to where they won TKO, no, or was just those 2? Yes, no, 3 matches they did TKO because they also beat
1.
Tom and Paul in the Ultimate Schmoedown match.
Yeah, so they had 1,
Let me check my notes.
2.
Yeah, the Experiment, the Pride, Tom and Paul. That's 3. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, the 3 TKOs, not too bad, not too shabby. What would you say was their best teams match for Lon and Paul?
Ben, you want to start this one off with their best teams match?
I would say it was the Cunningham versus the Experiment. Because they just seemed they were on the same wavelength, and you couldn't tell they knew each other. They knew each other's strengths and weaknesses, and it was only like maybe their first match together. And I just thought it was a great match for them.
I would probably go their match against Tom and Paul. I think they were clicking on all, like they were just in unison on that. Like they both go perfect in round 1, they go perfect in round 2, but they don't get all possible points as they did check down once, and they got a 2-point steal, and they win via TKO. That's a pretty good match. So I'd probably lean with Tom and Paul as their best match.
That's also a good one. Their match against the Founding Fathers. I was gonna say their match against the Odd Couple because they got the highest scoring. They got highest scoring possible points in that match, but that was a 5-rounder, so that's a complete difference.
Yeah, that's an
it's completely
online
different.
5-pointer. So for me, it's a little bit of a. Is it their best match?
Yeah, so if I really did have to check down, if I had to go over the round 3, it would have been a tie between Deep 13 and Founding Fathers because Deep 13 was the first. It was the actual first match that Christian and they were doing for the team's format online because they were the undercard to Irwin and Roca, and even then it was just like of course they didn't go perfect, but they was still a very competitive match. No, Paul did win perfect, but he just missed the bonus question. Even then, it was still a very competitive match with them.
No,
Deep 13,
no. Paul actually missed the final question in round 1. For Deep 13. But they did go perfect in round 2, and Paul missed their 3-pointer.
Yeah, even then, Paul missing that 3 still did a great job in round 2 when they had gotten when they got Spinner's Choice with Adam Sandler movies, which surprised me. I didn't think Lon had knowledge on Sandler. I didn't think Sandler was a very well liked slice or actor for the Schmoedown. So just seeing how Lon and Paul, either if they went to multiple choice or sweeping the category, they always stay focused on with each other. And Paul missed that 3-pointer fine, but still, Lon was able to do a good job getting that 2-pointer in directors, and then of course nailing that 5-pointer to earn them that victory. So I would say, for me, I would pick Deep 13 because not only was it the first teams match for the online format, but it was also, he did. That was unfortunate for Whitney. I took it as if he never saw the movie because there are some movies, like some more popular movies most people have seen, but Whitney has not seen yet. Like because Whitney's more known for. Go right ahead.
If Whitney cared a little bit more about the game of the Schmoedown and not just the trivia, he would have known to use a repeat there just to make sure he heard the right name.
Yeah, because he quickly jumped on that question. He didn't wait to give himself a couple of seconds. But still, I still say Deep 13 is great. Go ahead, Ben.
Let me ask you. When Winston noticeably better with the character work, and Winston, because of Winston, he was able to unlock some more knowledge.
I know. I think so. Part of that's true. The knowledge was there because we've seen what he did with his brother and JTE in season 6 and season 5. So I think the knowledge was there. Paul is the best partner he's ever had. Oyama is a lot better partner than. I think Oyama's a better player than JTE and Jonathan Harris.
I agree with that sentiment too. I agree with that.
But I think character-wise, yes, I think Winston helped him become a better character, without a doubt.
Yeah. Because even then, with his character, the professor, there were times where he was still slipping in that professor character. I mean, sure, he kept it. He was able to maintain it very well during season 5, but there were certain cracks that were happening, especially in season 6, because after the Harris brothers had lost and were disbanded, the Evil Genius reformed. After his match against Bibiani, there were certain cracks in the professor that were starting to show. And there were also times where you can see Lon, he was trying very hard to maintain that professor character instead of just trying to be very I mean, sometimes you're natural with the character, and sometimes there gets to a point where you're trying too hard. Season 5, where I say Lon was more natural as the professor, but by the time season 6 came, after the Harris brothers lost to Critically Acclaimed, especially in the behind the scenes backstage skits, you see that Lon was trying more hard to sound more like a intellectual professor. He was dropping more words you come across in a Britannica encyclopedia than something like a professor would say. And with the Delinquent, I agree with Brandon. Winston helped him become the better character because Lon did a lot more of reacting to people instead of just trying to take the lead in a situation. He was more like in a situation of improv. He was yes-anding a lot of stuff. And it was definitely showing that, especially in the digital format, to where you saw in the early promos, the whole, where's Lon? Winston can't find Lon. And of course, the best part, it worked great with the storyline of his character. He's either, he's living in his own place where his landlord is a dog, or you see him in the woods or you see him at a Video Drew's place to where the green screen was always working. It didn't matter what.
There was the one match where he was using a green marker, so when he write it, it would bleed through. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, it was. No one pointed that out to him until maybe later on into one of the rounds, which is hilarious.
I forget. There was one match. What match it was, man? Didn't he forget he was supposed to answer a question? Like, there was one where he...
Oh, yes, it was a Mulan
the Pride. It was the Pride match, the 8th question.
Yeah, he thought that was the bonus question, so he didn't write it down. And then in the next match, Paul makes the joke on the 8th question. Like, Paul, you will answer this question. I mean, Lon, and you will answer this question.
Yeah. And it became the whole running jab of Lon's character, Mulan, like that. That was the
constant. He had one match where he wrote in or it was like before the match he wrote down Mulan, which I thought was pretty funny.
If this happened in a studio match, and Lon had accidentally forgot that I have no doubt in my mind, audience. I mean, they wouldn't have torn into him, but you would have gotten the biggest from the audience. Like you could tell that it was like, come on, Lon. They would have given him a hard time, but then afterward.
Oh, I bet the chat on that was just so ridiculous.
Actually, I do remember that live match when Lon didn't answer anything, even though he knew the answer. Everybody was like, every maybe 4 or 5 statements or chats I saw was like, how did you forget that? This is a game, Lon, not a TV show, I mean, I'm pretty the whole throwdown is still available on YouTube, so I'm pretty sure you can easily pull up that chat, skip to that moment, and then you'll be able to find exactly what people were saying. I mean, you don't need to take them for word, but it's still hilarious, honestly. That's one thing I liked about Lon. He did not, with his delinquent character, did not care, and it showed, and it led to a great moment in their match against Shazam, to where the kid adopted that personality of the delinquent, which had one of the best back and forths between Bibbs and the kid I ever saw.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny.
It played out like that bad influence.
What would you say is his worst played match? For me, it's the Adam Collins match.
I was going to say that too.
Yeah, me too.
That, like, he got horror, and he is a horror guy, but he did not do well. Like, he lost 5 points in steals alone, and he only got 1, and he only got 2 points. So he got knocked out by.
Yeah, worst part, the knockout.
Yeah.
And that was rough, too, because he had just come off of a knockout against Sabina Graves. So after Collins had beaten Roca, everyone thought that he was going to get the challenge out of Lon Harris. Also, Lon Harris, they were building up to that horror free-for-all match, so it was a mystery on who they were going to pick. Yeah, we're talking about that right now, that Adam Collins match. And knowing that Lon had picked horror, it did say to me earlier on that looks like he was going to be the person who Winston was going to put in that horror free-for-all. So it made a lot of sense that he was going to sweep that category, and he was going to go maybe do like a nice back and forth with Collins in the third round. But since he had gotten knocked out, we were never going to know. And it's one of the things that still ache me. I'm like, if Lon had maybe changed instead of getting horror, possibly we could have seen a great third round out of him.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, the match prior, he played Sabina. Make sure you say that right, everyone. It's Sabina, not Sabrina. It's Sabina Graves. He knocked her out. She actually did pretty well in round 1. She got 5 points, which isn't all that bad. But when you're in a singles tournament and the singles division now, if you don't get at least 7 points, odds are you're probably not going to win.
Especially if your opponent gets a perfect. If your opponent goes perfect and you get 5 points, and then they get the bonus question, that is a 4-point differential.
Yeah.
I forget. Did Sabina get drafted this year?
No.
No, she did not. She got picked up in free agency last year by Sam with the usual suspects.
Okay.
So I'm curious to see if I don't even think she was on. Was she on the draft roster?
Yeah, I remember seeing her name.
Okay.
Yes, she was on there. Yeah, despite the KO loss, though, she is a very solid player. I mean, she did a good job with Ethan Irwin during the first Anarchy tournament. She may have not been with superhero with her and Gerber as a team of superhero news. It was difficult to determine who was the better player out of the two, but mostly Sabina did have more of the general knowledge between her and Gerber, and she did a good job in the second free for all, honestly. So you could, even despite her record loss, she was someone who had a lot of potential. Because one thing we didn't touch on, we only touched on lightly about Lon Harris when he was a professor in the free for all too. Yeah, he lasted a lot of rounds. We touched on it lightly, but now that we're talking about that KO to Sabina, she was also someone who did a very great job in the free for all as well. She was nearly one of the last few people, but she ended up getting eliminated. I think she lasted 4 rounds in there, much longer than some of the veteran opponents like Roca and Ben and Guy. You know.
How long? I forget. How long did JTE that? You know, he.
What?
How long did JTE that?
How long JTE?
I don't know. I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay.
Yeah, we would. Yeah, we would actually have to watch the actual match in order to know.
Okay.
He was also in, don't forget, the horror free for all, but he didn't even last 1 round. He was second and he went out that first round.
And it sucked too because we saw him come back as the professor. It's just a little bit. He a little bit came back as professor, which was sad because we're like, oh, we're not gonna get the delinquent. We're gonna get the professor in this match. Okay, great. I can't wait to see what he does, and he's out.
Right? You're like, I am excited to see how far you. Oh, he's done.
Yeah.
And Leo coming in with the clutch, 10 rounds.
Oh.
JTE lasted 10 rounds.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Leo.
Which was the last free for all that we gotten, but we're getting one here in just over a month.
Yep.
Very excited.
Really can't wait for it.
Yeah, it's gonna be because it's 40 competitors, so 5.
8.
I don't know if it's
yeah,
gonna
5
be
players from the
5
faction.
per I mean, did Christian come out and state that officially that it's 5 per faction? Because it could just be.
He did say on
40.
stereo that it's going to be 5 players per faction since there's 8 factions.
Yeah.
Okay. I was because it could be there could be other factions that have more they want to put in, and some could like put less in. But this will be a great platform for these rookies to show what they really got. Pull what a Brendan Meyer did at Free for All 3. No one really knew who Brendan Meyer was before that live Free for All. He lasted a long time in that match. I mean, in the Free for All.
Yeah.
So definitely could see what type of a competitor he is.
I think we'll find out if Finn's not a good team had a really good draft or a really bad draft, depending on.
Well, it depends on how many he's gonna put in, because he only has 5. So you got to think what Roka, Barbarian, JTE. There's 3 right there.
Yeah, but even
I know.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Ben. Go
ahead. Never mind. I thought this was horror for a second. I was going to say, I don't know, but that's everything. Okay.
But I don't think, depending on how the Rager and Brother Lomas do in their matches before the free for all, maybe we'll see that. Maybe those will be the 2, or he'll pick some like Jeffrey Newman or Mark Haas,
because he did get yes.
Oh.
So we'll have to see. I think Ryan's frozen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ryan, want to pop on, off, and on?
No? Jesus Christ. All right. Give me a
You're
second.
Extremely delayed. So, but no, I'm very excited for the free-for-all because I think it is a great spot for these managers to really show and see what type of competitors these players are without risking a match, because that's one of the main problems with these unknowns is you got to take a risk and put them in a match, and hopefully you don't lose some points or you don't gain points. Like, that's the biggest thing now with these factions is every match means something.
So, like, I wonder, does every player losing
No.
points?
So the thing is, there's no points anymore. Christian just made that announcement today. The free for all has no points attached.
Okay.
Basically, the winner, their faction gets a title shot, so they could give it to someone else on the faction.
Okay.
So say that Barbarian wins, and he wants to give it to Roka or JTE. He could do that. Or that's that's my understanding of how the winner of the free for all now works. So we'll just have to see if that is correct.
Yeah, well, it's all about waiting and seeing. And who knows exactly
like Christian said on backstage, just sit back and watch.
Yeah.
Don't speculate at this point, because if you speculate, you try to figure out something, you're just going to end up being wrong.
Exactly.
We could say the same thing about that damn, the rule book. The rule book.
The rule book? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
because and another thing Christian came out and said is that the timeout is no longer a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which it kind of makes sense, because how the hell do you do a timeout so that a manager and a player can be somewhere separate for 30 seconds to chat? Like, it's not really worth it to have them go into a different room for 30 seconds and then come back. So I get why. Now, I would like to see it come back if they go back to studio matches. I think it'll be a lot easier that way. Because
I think that was the point of the timeout.
Yeah.
It was meant for the studio matches, because you clearly would see on camera a manager calling for a timeout when in the with their player. Because we did sort of see something like that in the Whitworth and Knapsack Iron Man match, to where they were allowed a minute break. So we did see that is possible. But I do agree, there's no way we can try doing that in for the digital matches, especially nowadays. The community will lose their minds. Let's say a timeout happens, you can get one person going like, oh, is he trying to research this category to give him answers on any questions? Like within 30 seconds, no chance in hell. But you can't stop those kind of comments and questions coming in.
Yeah.
So I mean, the safest thing to do would be to take out the timeout for right now until they're officially back in the studio.
Yeah, definitely.
So Lon, as the professor, had really good stats. In round 1, he had an 89, and that includes his bonus, accuracy.
High
That's
accuracy,
man. And like he did just as good in round 2, 90%. And in round 3, him and Paul had an 82%, which you can't really there's not a lot of competitors that have that high for round 3.
Yeah.
Was 2 or 3 on their 5-pointers, which is pretty good. It's pretty good.
It's good. Yeah, that's one thing I enjoyed about that. Even with the character change, actually the character change was a lot, because the character change, it got the attention of the community, which even with the wins with the final exam, I remember during the whole even when the singles tournament was happening or when the whole thing shut down, everyone would kept clamoring, when are we going to get some singles matches? And every now and then I would see a comment going, oh, we want to see the delinquent in a singles match, we want to see the delinquent against Roca, or the delinquent against Jeff Snyder, or have the delinquent go up against Mark Andraco or the kid Bibiani. Lon Harris's character change really made a huge impact into the Schmoedown, and the stats proved that that the knowledge was always there. And personally, for me, if we had to ask ourselves if the delinquent, because one thing with the draft though, when the draft happened, we saw Lon Harris come back on in for the final pick. You saw him as the professor get up, as they get John Harris back into swag. One question I kind of want to throw out to you guys: are we going to see Lon try to do a dual performance as the professor or the delinquent this season?
Well, he can't be on 2 teams. So.
No, I mean one match he's the professor and then another match he's the delinquent.
I don't know. That seems a little confusing and complicated and not really necessary, but you never know.
I remember where I heard this. I like the theory that the delinquent is actually the professor, only something happened to him, and
Well,
no, I think Vince was
it's the same person. Like he's playing like the professor got laid off.
Oh, okay.
Well, no, I think I understand what Ben was trying to say. Like the theory that Lon is still the professor, but the delinquent is just he's doing what Robert Downey Jr. did in Tropic Thunder. He's just a dude playing a dude. He's the dude pretending to be a dude played by another dude.
Oh God.
But even then, it would be a little confusing to try to buy into that, because that would be like putting in double the performances within Lon. And if there was ever a Schmoedown acting performance, I would give that to Lon 100%.
Yeah, I don't know. And Andrew Guy did pretty good, but more recently, because people don't remember what Andrew Guy did in seasons 4 and 5, they only remember stuff that's more recent. Yeah, Evan will say Lon Harris for the professor and delinquent.
Yeah. Going overall, generally talking about the delinquent, we already know Lon's performance character-wise is definitely on par with Andrew Guy. But going over this is only 9 matches last season, breaking down his matches and overall. Oh wait, okay, I had my thought here with Lon Harris. If an opportunity, let's just say, because one thing we saw in Lon's previous matches, he was always filming at Video Drew Nerd Chronic's place, because the couch, of course, if people watch Video Drew show it Live in the Dark, you'd recognize that couch is Video Drew's. So we do see Lon there. Would have been funny if Lon had chose not to go back to swag, and in certain circumstances he chose to maybe decides to get drafted, and he ends up getting drafted by a dungeon. Would we have seen maybe a Video Drew with Lon team up?
I think that is extremely plausible that could have happened. I just don't know if Kaiser would have been able to pick him up there, probably at the end of round 2, because I feel like between those 9,
8,
so
like he
18,
was like the last one, so he was last to go in round 2. So yeah, like nearly 15, like 14 of the
60.
prospective.
Yeah, like I think someone else would have picked him up during the draft during that time frame. But it would be interesting to see that team up though.
Yeah, they really want to be partnered with somebody else on Dungeon.
I think it's gonna be Whitney Seibold because it's the only one that it's the only one that really makes sense based on who's on the faction. Maybe Adam Witt, because that could be a interesting combo.
Yeah, but let's throw this out there. If Blonde did get part of the dungeon, would it have been in a 1% chance? Would it have been possible to see him in a team with Dan Merrill or Ben Bateman?
Oh.
I would like to see him with Bateman. I think that would have been very interesting. Someone that is like is super smart in terms of the Schmoedown against someone that used to be a professor.
Can you really see that dynamic between those two characters working though?
The thing is, you just never know.
Okay.
I personally think it could, because what we saw this season, how Lon was always bouncing off other people. Like we saw with Winston, his attitude as being the manager was almost similar to I saw what Bateman won. I think what Bateman was during maybe season 5 when he was very aggressive. So I think Lon would have definitely bounced off well against Bateman. Like Bateman would have been the talker. Lon would have just been the straight man coming in, throwing maybe one liner or so. Either way, the idea of seeing Lon and Bateman as a team would have been fantastic. Because personally, even with Lon's team stats, I could have seen him almost work with any top player in any faction. Like, say he got drafted. Let's say he chose to go with the Mercs. Sure, Bibbs and the Kid would still be a team, but I would have, and depending on, and seeing on who he drafted, I think he would have done good with Perry Nemiroff. Honestly, like Lon and Perry as a team would have been fun.
Okay, how about this? How about if Christian drafted him? Can you see him working with either Walker or Barbarian?
I would rather see him with the Barbarian.
I really don't see him with Roka, honestly. I really can't. I mean, because going off of the Founding Fathers and Final Exam match, Roka was not the strongest out of the 4 guys, out of all 4 of them playing. So if things were switched over, and if it was because even though Lon still did a great job there, but Roka was kind of, I wouldn't say the weak link, but he was the low scoring player out of that team's match. And now with Roka's character change, I don't think those 2 characters would have matched well, honestly. Really would have had to bring back the Professor in order to gel with Roka. And I don't want him to go back to Professor just yet. I still want to see him as the delinquent.
Yeah.
I think everyone.
I think there's still plenty of stuff to do as the delinquent.
Yeah.
Actually, it would have been nice if we got an Evil Geniuses reteam of the Evil Geniuses and see how JTE would have gelled with the delinquent, honestly.
Maybe in the new Evil Geniuses, maybe JTE is a genius. And if they reunited, if Lon and JTE reunited, they type JTE as a genius. And never mind. I
know what you're trying to say. Like let's say in a fantasy situation, Lon Harris decides to go with the Finstock Exchange, and then JTE, let's say he gets drafted and to the Finstock Exchange, seeing the Evil Geniuses reunite, and Lon stays as the delinquent. But then JTE shows that he was always the secret genius of the team. Yeah, I understand what you're trying to do.
Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. That would be an interesting character for JTE, for sure. It's just hard because he can't pronounce certain words.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But even then, Lon would have been great. Like he ends up like JT can't pronounce something. Lon would just go, "Oh, that's okay, man. I mean, I don't even try to write a director's name correctly, so it's all good." Okay.
Anything else you guys want to discuss?
Any final thoughts? Well, my final thought on. Oh, go ahead, Ben. You're gonna say something.
I have nothing more to say. He's a great character. He's one of the most entertaining you watch, and he has the knowledge to back it up. I mean, that's all basically what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely correct on that one. I just can't wait until see their next match. I really hope that Final Exam can make it to a title match, because if they can, Paul would get his second belt, his first team's belt. He's already had the singles belt.
Yeah.
Paul is definitely probably the top 10 best current players inside the Schmoedown, and he's like 23, so he could be doing this for a very, very long time.
Yeah, I completely agree. Of course, what I definitely want to say on Lon proved that well, obviously as a professor, he proved that knowledge is great, but Lon also proved that you can do a massive change in your character and you can still make a big impact in the Schmoedown. It's not more of a situation of changing from a face to a heel, but it's more of like you can completely revamp your character, but while staying and go back into the Schmoedown, and you can 100% return to relevancy again. And I'm not saying Lon was irrelevant, but it was mainly because of his season 6 run. Even though he is still a very high scoring, high stats top player, I think he could have gone very overlooked in season 7 if Winston had not drafted him, honestly. And because of Lon's change as delinquent, his stock once again rose right back up to the top. Sure, he got KO'd by Collins, but despite that, he is still considered a very valuable, highly valued player in the Schmoedown. And seeing and it has left me even more excited to see what he's going to do in season 8. I just like Brandon, I hope that they do go for a title shot. They lost, and it's funny because the two teams they lost to last season was Shazam and the Odd Couple. And right now I'm looking at, they are going to play Shazam for a number 1 contenders match. So if they do beat Shazam, they'll get a rematch against the Odd Couple, and we might actually see like a redemption then.
Yeah, like they almost won that match. It's just Lon struggled there in the speed round by passing on one and then getting a incorrect one, so he only got 2 points out of his 5. So, which I believe was the difference in the match. So, it's gonna be exciting to see what Lon does here this season. Ben, where can everyone find you online?
You can find me at my Twitter at BenRader2.
Ryan?
Everyone can find me on my Twitter at caramel_pain.
Right there at the top, everyone.
Yep.
And then you can find me at BrandonBuck88. Make sure to follow the main show Twitter at Mount Schmoedown. We will see y'all next week.
Yep. Bye.